In the heart of Minnesota lies the small, tight-knit town of Watkins, a place where neighbors know each other by name, and children play freely in their yards, secure in the quiet rhythms of rural life. It was here, in this seemingly idyllic community, that the Ertl family, Matt, Kayla, and their bright-eyed 5-year-old daughter, Alayna, built their life. Alayna, born on Halloween in 2010, was a spark of pure joy. Her parents described her as a bubbly, affectionate little girl, with a contagious smile and a love for all things pink. She was on the cusp of a new adventure, excitedly anticipating her first day of kindergarten and a planned family camping trip. She was a child full of promise, her world a canvas of happy moments and future dreams just waiting to be painted. The Ertl home was a place of warmth and welcome, a hub for friends and family. Matt Ertl worked hard, and the family was well regarded in Watkins. They embodied the values of their community: hard work, kindness, and an open door for those they cared about. Alayna was the center of their universe, a precious daughter who filled their days with laughter and endless questions. She loved playing with her friends, dressing up, and snuggling with her favorite pink Elsa blanket. Her life was a portrait of childhood innocence, a picture-perfect existence in a town that prided itself on being a safe haven, far removed from the harsh realities of the world. It was a place where trust was given freely, especially to those considered part of the family circle. This sense of security was a cornerstone of life in Watkins, a town with a population of less than 1,000 people. Here, doors were often left unlocked, and the community functioned as an extended family, watching out for one another's children. The idea that a monstrous danger could infiltrate this sanctuary was unthinkable. The Ertl family, like so many others, believed they were protected by the invisible shield of small-town life. They were raising their daughter in an environment where the greatest threats seemed distant and abstract. No one could have imagined that the gravest danger would not come from a stranger lurking in the shadows, but from someone they had welcomed into their home as a friend. On a warm summer weekend in August 2016, that shield was shattered, and the community's sense of safety was irrevocably broken. The innocence that defined Alayna's life and the peacefulness of her hometown were about to be stolen in the most brutal and heartbreaking way imaginable. The story of Alayna Ertl is not just a chronicle of a horrific crime. It is the story of a community's profound loss and the devastating realization that evil can wear the face of a friend. It is a reminder of a light that was extinguished far too soon, leaving behind a darkness that would forever alter the lives of those who loved her and the town she called home. The man who would bring this unimaginable tragedy to the Ertl family's doorstep was Zachary Todd Anderson. At 25 years old, Anderson was not a stranger. He was a familiar and trusted figure in their lives. He worked with Alayna's father, Matt Ertl, and their professional relationship had blossomed into a genuine friendship. Anderson was a frequent guest at the Ertl home, often staying overnight after late-night softball games or social gatherings. He played with Alayna, shared meals with the family, and was treated with the warmth and hospitality one would extend to a close relative. To the Ertls, he was simply Zach, a good friend they could count on, someone they felt completely comfortable having around their precious daughter. There were no visible red flags, no overt signs of the darkness that lurked beneath Anderson's friendly exterior. By all outward appearances, he was just a regular young man from the nearby town of Monticello. He had a job, friends, and seemed to blend seamlessly into their social circle. This perception of normalcy is what made his betrayal so profoundly shocking and cruel. The Ertls had opened their home and their hearts to him, never once suspecting the danger he posed. Trust is a fragile thing, and in small towns like Watkins, it is the currency of daily life. Zachary Anderson exploited that trust in the most depraved way possible, turning a safe space into the scene of a crime. What the Ertl family and their community did not know was that Anderson had a hidden past. As a juvenile, he had a record that included disturbing behavior, such as stalking and sexually harassing a female neighbor. These incidents, buried in sealed juvenile court records, painted a very different picture of the man they thought they knew. This history revealed a pattern of predatory and deviant behavior that had gone largely unnoticed by his adult acquaintances. Had this information been public knowledge, the Ertls would have never allowed him near their home or their child. But the past remained hidden, allowing Anderson to present himself as a harmless friend while harboring a sinister capacity for violence. This disconnect between Anderson's public persona and his private history is a chilling aspect of this case. It highlights a terrifying reality: that the monsters we fear are not always shadowy figures in dark alleys. Sometimes, they are the people we invite into our homes, share a laugh with, and trust to be around our children. For Matt and Kayla Ertl, Zachary Anderson was a part of their extended family. They had no reason to believe he was capable of anything other than friendship. This misplaced trust, born of kindness and an open heart, would have devastating consequences that would haunt them and their community forever, serving as a painful lesson in the deceptive nature of evil. The night of Friday, August 19, 2016, began like many other summer evenings for Matt Ertl and Zachary Anderson. They played on a softball team together and after their game, went out for a few drinks with friends. It was a typical night of camaraderie and unwinding after a long week. As the night wore on, they returned to the Ertl home in Watkins in the early hours of Saturday morning around 4 o'clock. Matt, tired from the long day, went to bed, leaving his trusted friend Zach to sleep on the couch in the living room. Alayna was sound asleep in her own bed, tucked in safely, her parents believing she was protected within the four walls of her home. The house was quiet, giving no hint of the nightmare that was about to unfold. Just a few hours later, around 8:30 in the morning, Kayla Ertl woke up and began her day. She soon realized something was terribly wrong. Alayna was not in her bed. A quick search of the house revealed that Zachary Anderson was also gone. Panic began to set in, as Kayla's eyes fell upon another missing item: the keys to the family's GMC Sierra pickup truck. A frantic check of the driveway confirmed her worst fear. The truck was gone too. The horrifying realization dawned on her that Anderson had not just left, he had taken her daughter with him. The quiet morning was shattered by a mother's rising terror, a primal fear that her child was in grave danger at the hands of a man they had called a friend. The timeline of the abduction is chilling in its simplicity. Sometime between 4 o'clock when Matt Ertl went to sleep, and 8:30, when Kayla discovered them missing, Anderson had crept into Alayna's room. He had taken the sleeping 5-year-old from her bed, carried her out of the house, and driven away in her family's truck. He violated the sanctity of their home and betrayed their trust in the most profound and unforgivable way. The family's immediate calls and texts to Anderson's phone went unanswered, deepening their panic. At 9:56 in the morning, with their dread mounting by the second, the Ertls made the desperate 911 call that would officially launch a massive search for their missing daughter. The news spread like wildfire through the small town of Watkins. A child was missing, taken by a family friend. The initial disbelief quickly gave way to a collective sense of dread. How could this happen here? How could someone they knew and trusted commit such an unthinkable act? The morning that should have been filled with the sounds of a little girl's laughter was instead filled with the piercing sound of police sirens and the frantic energy of a community mobilizing to find one of its own. For the Ertl family, the world had stopped turning. Their only focus was on one thing: bringing Alayna home safely. But as the hours ticked by, hope began to war with a terrible, encroaching fear. As soon as the 911 call was made, law enforcement agencies sprang into action. The Meeker County Sheriff's Office, along with state authorities, immediately understood the gravity of the situation. A child abduction by a known individual is one of the most dangerous scenarios, and time was of the essence. At 11:15 in the morning, a statewide Amber Alert was issued for Alayna Ertl. Her sweet, smiling face was broadcast across Minnesota, along with a description of Zachary Anderson and the stolen 2002 GMC Sierra pickup truck. The alert urged the public to be on the lookout, turning every citizen into a potential searcher and transforming the case from a local crisis into a statewide emergency. The hope was that a swift public response could lead to Alayna's safe recovery. Investigators began their work by piecing together every possible clue. They knew Anderson was from Monticello, but his whereabouts were a mystery. They started tracking the location of a cell phone that had been left inside the stolen truck, a critical piece of technology that could provide a digital breadcrumb trail. As law enforcement pursued this lead, the community of Watkins mobilized. Volunteers gathered, ready to search fields, woods, and back roads. Prayer vigils were hastily organized as friends and neighbors clung to hope, collectively begging for a miracle. The entire region was on high alert, the atmosphere thick with tension and a desperate desire to help. Every passing minute felt like an eternity for the Ertl family and all who were watching the tragedy unfold. The critical breakthrough in the case, however, did not come from a public tip or a sophisticated piece of technology. It came from a phone call steeped in familial conflict and a father's dawning horror. In the early afternoon, Zachary Anderson's own father, Robert Anderson, contacted the Cass County Sheriff's Office. He reported that his son, Zachary, had called him. During their conversation, Zach had admitted to being at the family's remote, wooded cabin property near the town of Motley, a considerable distance north of Watkins. The call was likely filled with anguish and confusion, but Robert Anderson did the right thing. He alerted the police, providing them with the exact location they so desperately needed. This tip was the turning point. It narrowed the vast search area from the entire state down to a specific property in rural Cass County. It gave law enforcement a concrete destination and a renewed sense of urgency. The information from Anderson's father confirmed that Zach was attempting to hide in a familiar, isolated location. Deputies from the Cass County Sheriff's Office were immediately dispatched to the property, their mission clear: locate the stolen truck, find Zachary Anderson, and, most importantly, rescue Alayna Ertl. As they raced toward the secluded cabin, they carried with them the hopes of an entire state, unaware of the grim scene that awaited them. Upon arriving at the remote Anderson family property in Cass County, deputies quickly located the stolen GMC Sierra pickup truck. It had been parked near the cabin, partially concealed in the wooded area. The sight of the truck confirmed they were in the right place, but Alayna was nowhere to be seen. As they approached the cabin itself, the scene grew more ominous. Inside the empty dwelling, investigators discovered several disturbing items that painted a dark picture of what had transpired. A 20-gauge shotgun and ammunition lay nearby. Even more chilling was the discovery of a note, apparently written by Anderson, stained with what appeared to be blood. The words were suicidal in nature, suggesting a mind in turmoil, but they offered no information about Alayna's fate. With Anderson's location now pinpointed to the dense woods and swampy terrain surrounding the cabin, a K-9 unit was brought in to track him. The dog quickly picked up a scent and led officers away from the cabin, deeper into the wilderness. After a tense search, the K-9 unit cornered Anderson, who was hiding in a swampy, heavily vegetated area submerged in waist-deep water. When deputies apprehended him, his initial response was one of cold, feigned ignorance. When they asked him about the missing 5-year-old girl, he reportedly replied with a shocking and heartless question. "What girl?" His callous denial in the moment was a prelude to the horror he was about to reveal. Faced with the unwavering pressure of law enforcement, Anderson's facade began to crumble. He finally broke his silence and agreed to lead investigators to Alayna. He guided them through the thick brush to another part of the swamp, a desolate and hidden spot a few hundred yards from where he had been found. There, submerged beneath the murky water and covered with brush and debris, was Alayna's small, lifeless body. Nearby, investigators found her favorite pink Elsa blanket, a tragic symbol of the innocence that had been so brutally violated. The frantic, hope-fueled search that had begun that morning had ended in the darkest possible outcome. The discovery, made around 4:20 p.m. on Saturday, August 20th, sent a shockwave of grief through the law enforcement officers at the scene, and, soon after, through the entire state. Alayna was gone. A preliminary autopsy would later confirm the cause of death as homicidal violence, specifically strangulation and blunt force trauma to her head. The man who had been welcomed into her home as a friend had become her abductor and her killer, ending her young life in a secluded swamp far from home. The vibrant little girl from Watkins was the victim of an incomprehensible act of evil, and the long, painful journey toward justice was just beginning. With Zachary Anderson in custody and the devastating truth of Alayna's fate revealed, the focus shifted from a search and rescue operation to a criminal investigation and prosecution. Anderson was formally charged on August 23, 2016, just 3 days after he was apprehended. The initial charges included second-degree murder, kidnapping, and criminal sexual conduct, reflecting the horrific nature of the crimes he was accused of committing. A judge, recognizing the extreme danger he posed and the heinousness of the act, set his bail at an astronomical $2 million. This ensured he would remain behind bars as the legal process moved forward, providing a small measure of security to a community reeling from shock and fear. The investigation continued to build an ironclad case against him, The evidence was overwhelming. It included the stolen truck, the blood-stained note found in the cabin, the cell phone data that tracked his movements, and, most importantly, the fact that he had personally led officers to Alayna's body. However, the legal road was not without its complexities. In May 2017, Anderson's defense attorneys filed a motion to suppress his confession and the evidence it led to, namely, the location of Alayna's body. They argued that he had requested a lawyer before making incriminating statements and that his Miranda rights had been violated by continued questioning. The judge in the case made a crucial ruling on this motion. While agreeing that some of Anderson's statements made after he requested counsel were inadmissible, the judge allowed the most critical piece of evidence, Alayna's body, to be used at trial. The reasoning was based on the legal principle of inevitable discovery. The court determined that the K-9 unit, which was already systematically searching the area, would have inevitably found Alayna's body regardless of Anderson's confession. This ruling was a significant victory for the prosecution, as it preserved the core evidence needed to prove the murder charge and prevented the case from being derailed on a technicality. As the case progressed, Anderson's defense team indicated they might pursue a defense centered on mental illness or intoxication, suggesting he was not fully responsible for his actions due to his state of mind. This legal maneuvering set the stage for a potentially long and grueling trial that would force the Ertl family to relive every agonizing detail of their daughter's final hours. On October 25, 2017, a grand jury, after reviewing the extensive evidence, handed down a 19-count indictment against Anderson. The charges were upgraded to include first-degree premeditated murder and first-degree murder while committing criminal sexual conduct, the most serious offenses under Minnesota law, carrying a mandatory sentence of life in prison. The news of Alayna's death descended upon Watkins like a physical blow, knocking the wind out of the small town and leaving a void of profound sorrow. The collective hope that had sustained the community during the frantic search turned to communal grief. Disbelief was the first reaction. No one could fathom that such a monstrous act could happen in their quiet, safe town, perpetrated by someone known and trusted. Porch lights that had been left on as beacons of hope for Alayna's return now became symbols of mourning. Pink ribbons, Alayna's favorite color, began to appear on trees, mailboxes, and storefronts, a silent, unified expression of heartbreak and solidarity with the Ertl family. In the days that followed, the community came together to support the grieving family in every way they could. A GoFundMe campaign was started to help with funeral expenses and to allow Matt and Kayla the time they needed to mourn without the added burden of financial worries. The response was immediate and overwhelming, with donations pouring in not just from Watkins but from across Minnesota and the entire country. People who had never met the Ertls felt a connection to their pain, touched by the story of a little girl whose life was stolen so senselessly. Prayer vigils were held, offering a space for friends, neighbors, and strangers to gather, cry, and lean on one another for support. The funeral for Alayna Ertl was a day of unimaginable sadness for Watkins. The church was overflowing with mourners, many wearing pink in her honor. The service was a tribute to a life cut tragically short, filled with stories of her joyful spirit, her infectious giggle, and her love for her family. For a town so small, the loss felt deeply personal to everyone. It was as if they had all lost a daughter, a granddaughter, or a little sister. The tragedy exposed a vulnerability they never knew they had, shattering the illusion of small-town invincibility and leaving a permanent scar on the community's heart. The world suddenly felt like a much darker and more dangerous place. This profound sense of loss and vulnerability lingered long after the funeral. The crime forced residents to confront a difficult new reality. Trust, once freely given, became guarded. Parents held their children a little tighter, their sense of security shaken to its core. The name Alayna Ertl became synonymous with a communal tragedy, a reminder of the innocence that was lost on that terrible August day. Watkins was no longer just a quiet farming town. It was a town forever marked by grief, a place that would spend years trying to heal from a wound that could never fully close. The community's sorrow was a heavy blanket, a shared burden of pain and remembrance. For the Ertl family, the legal process was a journey through a second kind of hell. The prospect of a trial meant they would have to publicly relive the most traumatic event of their lives, listening to graphic testimony and seeing forensic evidence related to their daughter's murder. The defense's hints at using a mental illness or intoxication claim added another layer of potential anguish, suggesting the man who killed their child might not be held fully accountable. For nearly 2 years, they lived in a state of suspended grief, waiting for a resolution that seemed agonizingly distant. Every court hearing and legal motion was a painful reminder of their loss and the brutal reality of the justice system's slow, methodical pace. The trial was scheduled to begin in the spring of 2018. However, in a sudden and unexpected development, Zachary Anderson chose to avoid a trial. On March 2, 2018, he appeared in Cass County District Court and pleaded guilty. He admitted to 1 count of first-degree murder while committing criminal sexual conduct and 1 count of first-degree criminal sexual conduct. In exchange for his plea, prosecutors agreed to drop the other 17 charges against him. This plea deal, while difficult to accept, accomplished one crucial thing. It spared the Ertl family the immense trauma of a public trial. They would not have to endure days or weeks of harrowing testimony about their daughter's last moments. Immediately following his guilty plea, Judge Jana Austad pronounced his sentence. There was no delay, no further deliberation needed. For his heinous crimes, Zachary Todd Anderson was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, the maximum penalty allowed under Minnesota law. Justice in its legal form had been delivered. As he was led away to spend the rest of his natural life in a prison cell, the courtroom was filled with a heavy silence, a mixture of grim satisfaction and an aching sense of emptiness. No sentence, no matter how severe, could ever bring Alayna back or erase the pain he had inflicted. At the sentencing, Alayna's father, Matt Ertl, was given the opportunity to address the court and the man who had destroyed his family. His words were raw, filled with the fury and grief of a father who had lost everything. Looking directly at Anderson, he said that a life sentence was not near enough justice for what he's done to our daughter. He spoke of the endless nightmare his family was now living, the void Alayna left behind that could never be filled. His voice cracking with emotion, he concluded with a sentiment shared by so many who followed the case: "I hope he rots in hell." His statement was a testament to a father's undying love and the immeasurable depth of his pain. In the face of unimaginable darkness, the Ertl family and the Watkins community chose to honor Alayna's memory not with bitterness, but with love. They were determined that her legacy would be one of joy and giving, reflecting the bright spirit she embodied in her 5 short years. Because Alayna was a Halloween baby and loved the holiday, her family established an annual charity event called Sharing Alayna Ertl's Love. Each year around her birthday, they host a fundraiser and toy drive, collecting new toys to donate to children in need. This beautiful tribute transforms a day of sorrow into an opportunity to spread the same happiness that Alayna brought to their lives, ensuring her light continues to shine. The community of Watkins has also sought ways to create a permanent and public memorial for the little girl they lost. They wanted a place where people could go to remember Alayna and to reflect on the love and unity that emerged from the tragedy. In September 2023, 7 years after her death, the city dedicated a beautiful bronze statue of Alayna in a local park. The life-size statue depicts her releasing a butterfly, a powerful symbol of transformation, hope, and the enduring nature of the spirit. It stands as a timeless marker of her life and a testament to a community's promise to never forget one of its most beloved children. The impact of Alayna's case extends far beyond the borders of Watkins. It served as a stark and painful reminder of the importance of child safety and the effectiveness of the Amber Alert system, which played a crucial role in the rapid dissemination of information. Her story resonated deeply with parents everywhere, reinforcing the difficult truth that danger does not always come from strangers. It highlighted the need for vigilance and awareness, even with those inside one's circle of trust. Alayna's name is often invoked in discussions about child protection, her story a tragic but powerful teaching moment for countless families. Though Zachary Anderson will spend the rest of his life in prison, and the legal chapter of this story is closed, the emotional wounds for the Ertl family and their community will never fully heal. They live with the loss of Alayna every single day. Yet through their grief, they have forged a legacy of compassion. By sharing Alayna's love with other children and creating a place of remembrance, they have ensured that she is remembered not for the horror of her death, but for the beauty of her life. Her spirit lives on in every toy donated in her name, in the quiet grace of her statue, and in the hearts of all who refuse to let her light be forgotten.